Welcome back to the Aussie Shed, ladies and gentlemen. If you saw the last episode, you'd be aware that the motor and gearbox is out of the body shell on Project Fairlady. So, I think we should take a little bit of time and have a look at a few things before I start disassembling it all. Now, as you can see here, folks, we've got quite badly corroded water lines here. These feed into your heater inside the cab. Your turbo connections on the side of them for your water cooling on both your turbos is really badly corroded as well. You also see your turbo water lines themselves. That's very, very corroded on the end, very sharp. I had to actually watch that when I was doing a bit of work. It nearly cut me a few times. It's all looking pretty average. I don't know what to go with the back of these covers here is for the, I think it's the variable valve timing actuators on the intake cams. They're all sort of open and I don't know, a lot of crap in the back of them there. Not sure what to go with those is. You can see there's a nut missing on the dump pipe just here. This stud's actually loose. And this kind of bolt here, there's a bolt there and I don't know, instead of a stud or whatever, but there's no washer on it and everything. It's a really bad fit. Just stuff in general, the way all this wiring, this is a bit of wiring here for the some of the aftermarket sensors that were on the car, and they've been done really badly. I'll show you the damage on the firewall a bit later on of how they actually did this. There's a whole heap of sensor wiring that comes through for the monitoring system that the car had in it. It had a bit of an old-fashioned, which was quite good in its day, set up to monitor all your oil pressure and temperature and all that sort of stuff. But where they've brought all the wiring through the firewall, they've actually just used like a punch or something on the inside and just kind of smashed a hole in the firewall and then run all the wires through it. No grommet or anything on it. It's quite sharp actually. I'll take you under there and probably see it. This is it here, folks. You can see all this collection of wires here. They're all sensor wires like oil temperature and things like that. And you can see they've just smashed a hole. It's not even a drilled hole. It's like a hole that's been smashed through with a punch or something. And then just shoved all these wires through. No grommet, no nothing, just shoved them through. Very lucky that they haven't cut any of the wires, or the wires haven't sort of worn over time and just sort of cut through the insulation and, you know, caused a fire and burnt the car down. But yeah, pretty kind of shitty workmanship really. You can see on this side here underneath where all your brake master cylinder and clutch master cylinder is, I just sort of rubbed this off with my hand. All the paint here was all that really kind of, you know, bubbly, the way paint goes when it's had brake fluid on it. And what happens in situations like this is the brake fluid will actually run down behind the paint and bubble it and just sort of keep going. And it won't be that obvious if you can't really see the area that well that there's brake fluid actually running down behind it, which is what's happened here. It goes all the way up there as well, you know. Fortunately, it appears only to be sort of surface rust, but there's a lot of rusted areas up in and around this that we will get to when we start stripping all that off. But I've already had a bit of a clean. This was just covered in black filthy grease from the power steering and everything. I've already had a bit of a wipe over that. I just couldn't help myself, folks. But yeah, you can sort of see the state of it all. It's all pretty average. But, you know, it's to be expected. As I've said many times, a vehicle this age, this is just what you have to deal with, folks. Particularly something like this that appears to have had very minimal maintenance done on it. Alright, well, back to the engine. So, you can see that the engine trans combination actually has had a few bob spent on it over the years. Whether or not any of this is actually going to sort of save us a whole heap of money, I think it will save a bit on the sort of build. Inside here there's a pretty decent looking twin plate clutch. It'll be interesting to see what that is when I get it out. You can see it's got these Nismo 750cc injectors fitted to it up here. You obviously see the turbos and everything. So it's got MSP manifolds, the GD 2860 turbos, you know, jump pipes. The motor is supposed to be built. What condition it's in, we're only going to find out when we sort of start getting it all apart. It does have cams. But as I say, how much of it's salvageable will only become apparent once it's all been stripped apart, and there's a lot of stuff that I will change on it anyway. For example, you know, all these injectors and all this sort of stuff, I'm going to go to a top feed arrangement with probably a 1200cc injector, because I am going to be running it on flex fuel, you know, so I do need more injector headroom than these 750cc's are going to give us. Plus we're going to be making, or I want it to be making, a lot more power than it was. You know, on petrol, those 750cc injectors should be good for, you know, maybe 650 horsepower at the wheels on 98, but mate, on ethanol they're not even close. So yeah, a lot of stuff's got to be changed. All the ignition system's going to be changed. I'll be going to R35 GDR ignition coils, and you know, like heaps and heaps of stuff's going to be changed anyway. I assume I'll probably keep these manifolds, whether or not I keep the turbos. I really have no idea at this stage. Once again, I've got to pull them down and have a bit of a look at them, and really get my head around what I really want out of all this when it's all sort of said and done. As I say, a lot of it's going to be sort of modernised, because I really want to try and squeeze quite a bit more horsepower out of it. I'm probably going to be going to a crank and cam trigger system on it as well, so the harmonic balancer will be replaced with something a lot better. I already have a Haltech Elite 2500 set aside for it, and a Haltech IC7 Dash for the vehicle as well. So there's, you know, there's lots of changes. There's lots of plans and lots of changes for all this. Hopefully we'll be able to keep some of these engine internals, and you know, I don't know, we'll see what happens. But that's where we are with it at the moment, folks. So what I'm going to do now is separate the motor and box, so I can get the box on a table and get the engine on an engine stand and start getting stuff off it and delving deeper and deeper into the engine. So, no idea how much of that I'm going to actually film, but I'll try and at least, you know, put in some highlights. So I'll just start turning spanners, folks, and start stripping stuff off it. What the fuck's going on there? Something really screwy's going on here, folks. Looks like the wastegate actuator has either become separated from the turbo or it's mounted onto the block. And there's just all sorts of dodgy welding I can see in behind there and stuff. Right. I'll get this actuator off so we can get the turbo off, folks, and just see what the hell's going on down there. Oh, let's have a look at this. Oh, I've seen it all now. I think you guys need to come a bit closer and have a look at this. Where are we? Oh, there we are down there. Have a go at this, folks. So they've mounted the wastegate actuator sort of on a weird cockeyed angle, sort of onto one of the engine mount bolts, and it's just a mess, guys. It's just a mess. Bird shit welded onto a piece of plate. how the hell you're meant to adjust the actuator or anything like that, because obviously you have to fit it in the reverse of how I got it apart, so you can't actually get to it once it's on there. Holy dooly. Man, I've seen it all now, honestly. What a piece of shit. I'm just astounded, folks. I'm just astounded by the things that some people that call themselves professionals do. Like I say, professional build in your friggin' dreams. Alright, I guess I'll just carry on. Another quick one for you, folks. This is the oil drain from the turbo on the other side. Have a friggin' go at that. And it leaked. It leaked like a bastard through these welds that have been done. What a mess. Check it out. Like, what a friggin' mess. The shit that people do, honestly. Just get one that's the right shape or make something that fits. Don't hack. Like I said, this was done professionally. Fantastic. The dynamic duo. Look at that. Beautiful. Alright folks, it's off. How's that for a bit of quality work, eh? This is exactly what you'd expect your hard-earned dollars went on, isn't it? Eh? Look at that. Flaming garbage. Have a go at this. Have a go at the state of the engine mount, what they did to it. Oh my god. It's just been friggin' hacked at. Never mind even, okay, just chopping it away and cleaning it up a bit, but no, we'll just go at it with a grinder and just chew bits off it and then just leave it. The fun continues, folks. The fun continues. Alright guys, box is coming off. Let's see how we go with this. Very interested to see what's underneath this. Nice and gently, folks. Alright. You can see the twin plate clutch there, folks. I'll move you in, we'll have a bit of a closer look at it. Alright, it doesn't appear to be any branding on it, obviously anywhere there. Who knows, maybe we'll find something when we get it apart. But you can see it's a nice looking little unit. But we'll get this off, we'll get the flywheel off, and we'll start looking at getting it mounted on the engine stand. Just a bit of a cross star pattern method there, folks. You don't want to just fully undo it on one side. There's a lot of force on the pressure plate. You'll end up ruining something. If you do that, just get it all off pretty evenly. That's not bad. Look at these plates. I'll have to measure them up, folks, and just see what we've got there. We shall see. We shall see. Anyway, we'll look further into this. We'll find out who made it and measure it up and just see what the go is. Yeah, no obvious branding on this either, but doesn't matter, folks, doesn't matter. We'll work it out. Alright, on the bench with that too. Looks like we've got a little bit of a leak there too. Not sure whether it's the rear main seal or whether it's the sump. Looks to me like it's the sump. Anyway, we'll replace both of them anyway, folks, so it doesn't matter. And as you can see here, folks, there's a gusset on this side to brace the gearbox, a factory one, and there's one on this side's just missing. It's just not there. And there's no cover plate on this sort of intermediate plate between the bell housing and the motor. There's meant to be, as far as I know, there's meant to be another plate that goes on this seal here and sort of seals it all up. That was obviously it was open from underneath. It was something that I could sort of see right from the get-go. But yeah, so much shit missing off this, mate, which is really, really sad. The fact that people just take stuff apart and then only put half of it back together. It's very, very disappointing. Very disappointing. But yeah, what do you do? Fucking idiots, that's what it is. Fucking idiots, folks. Dipshits that call themselves performance mechanics. Spoil it for everyone in the industry. Bloody hell, I'll tell you what. Anyway. Right, folks, so I've had a little bit of time to have a bit of a look into this clutch and find out what it is and all that sort of stuff. So it's a competition 7¼ inch clutch, made in USA. I got hold of the Australian distributor and I got some specs on it, and it appears that the plates and everything are all still in spec. So a little bit of a clean up and we should be able to put this straight back in. So I think the issue with it on the vehicle was that the clutch pedal wasn't adjusted properly, and I found what seems to be a bit of a bend in the clutch fork, which also could have sort of explained where the engagement was on the thing, because it was engaging up really high. That was the biggest issue with it. So like I say, very happy about that. So that'll certainly save a bit of dough on the build. I am going to be fitting the later Series 2 350Z cast clutch fork, which is much stronger, which Nissan designed to actually get over this problem because it is a bit of a known thing, and chrome moly pivot ball, etc, etc, so that everything relating to this clutch is all set up new again. So that's that. I thought I'd just give you a bit of a look at these water lines. Now everything's off the car. Look at the state of these, folks. Look at that, mate. So honestly, I think we've dodged a bit of a bullet with this thing. It would only have been a matter of time before one of these lines would have come off and possibly cooked the engine. They're just in a really, really sort of a poor condition. And you sort of look at them, you know, just absolutely terrible. All those sort of bypass water necks and everything, they're all really corroded. Yeah. Look at the state of the banjo bolts that hold the water connections into the turbos, and all those lines themselves. They're just, you know, they're just full of crud. This thing did have a coolant mix in it when I got it, but I reckon it's obviously gone for a long period of time with straight water in it, and it's just got a lot of sludge build up in the cooling side of the engine. I tried to drain the block the other day, and when I pulled the bolt out in the block, nothing came out. I had to dig around in there with a screwdriver before I could get coolant flowing out because of all the crud that was behind the block drain bolt. And the block drain bolt itself was like really rusted, and I was only able to get one out on one side. I still haven't got the one out on the other side. I'm going to have to get the oxy onto it, I think, to get it out, or risk snapping it. But yeah, so there's a few issues there. Nothing that we can't deal with. As soon as we're at the bench, folks, we can have a bit better look at this mangled up engine mount here. That's a stocker, obviously. And this is the guy that someone went at with an angle grinder. Just because. What a friggin' mess. But again, not a problem. I've got a new set of BDE engine mounts for it, the high clearance engine mounts, which will work way better with these turbos and all that sort of stuff. All of this crap's going. None of this is going to be reused, other than the clutch, obviously. But just about everything that comes off the engine's getting binned and replaced with all new stuff. So you can see we're all separated now, folks. We've got the engine sitting on the stand, bits and pieces on a table there. That'll all get sort of packed up, and I'll pull all that stuff out as I sort of have to deal with it. Obviously, a lot of that stuff's going to be junked or, you know, whatever. But, mate, the engine's sitting on the stand now. We're able to get a really good look at it. There's a few things that I've found on there so far that make me happy. And there's a few things that make me sad. So next week, that's what we'll be doing. We'll start tearing the actual engine down, getting a bit of a look inside it, and, you know, sussing it out, just to see whether or not the previous owner who spent all the money on this thing got his money's worth or not. I think the latter. Anyway, hope you liked the video, folks. If you did, give it a thumbs up. As always, thanks for stopping by the Aussie Shed. Hope you're liking the Project Fairlady series. And as always, folks, I'll bloody well see you on the next one. Cheers.